like something out of a tabloid, but it is in fact a paper delivered to the Royal Society of London on the wild sex lives of our ancient ancestors, examining the DNA extracted from the Denisovan fossils of Siberia. Reich et al. Discovered that the Denisovians got around. They had bred with the Oceanians, the Neanderthals, and our ancient ancestors from China and East Asia, and some unidentified, presumably extinct race of humans. Now, of course, by definition of species, if the Denisovans, the Neanderthals, and humans all bred together, then that means they were all human! The Denisovans, Neanderthals, and the whole lot are completely human, which is precisely what creationists have been saying for many moons.
Holy fuck, Ian! Creationists like you have no scientific background, and yet you think you can make all sorts of claims. What do you mean when you say that Denisovans, Neanderthals, and modern humans were able to interbreed because they were all humans? You said by definition. Whose definition? You're not very clear when you use the word species. Do you mean that there were 3 different human species? Or that they were the exact same species? And while you're at it, please tell me how you differentiate species from kinds. Look at these animals. Are they the same species or the same kind? What about those? Are they the same species or the same kind? When you say that Denisovan hominin, Homo neanderthalensis, and Homo sapiens sapiens are all humans, do you mean the same species or the same kind? Do you think Denisovans and Neanderthals look just like you and I? Now, think about a horse and a donkey. In your scientific opinion, do they belong to the same species or the same kind? How about a lion and a tiger? How do you define kind? Is it tied to the capacity to interbreed? A horse and a donkey can interbreed. So can a lion and a tiger, and a wolf and a dog. But when you define species and kinds, do you take into consideration the fertility or sterility of the progeny? A lion and a tiger's cub is going to be sterile. The same thing happens when you mate a horse with a donkey. But a wolf-dog pup is fertile. How does that all fit with your definition of species and kinds? Which brings me back to the Denisovans, the Neanderthals, and us. And my main question, when you say that we're all humans, do you mean the same species like 2 dogs? Or different species like a dog and a wolf? Do you see why there's a problem with your lack of definition? Or at least lack of a proper definition for words like species and kinds? In the scientific world, the 3 human species we are discussing are considered humans because they belong to the genus Homo. But we are different nonetheless. Our DNA sequences differ greatly. Your DNA sequence and mine are similar, but extremely different from that of a Neanderthals or a Denisovan. Back in 1997, Svante Pääbo, an evolutionary geneticist at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology in Leipzig, Germany, was able to isolate Neanderthal DNA. In 2009, Johannes Krauss, another evolutionary geneticist, and Xiaomei Fu, one of his students, identified Denisovan DNA using just a flake from a baby finger bone. Ian, if you believe that Denisovans and Neanderthals are a member of our species, the one you and I and the rest of the world belongs to, then you have 2 major problems. First, as I said earlier, each species' DNA is distinct enough that scientists can easily distinguish Neanderthal and Denisovan sequences within our own. Second, our bone structures are also different. Although we superficially look like a Neanderthal, there are plenty of specific physical differences. Just look at these 2 skulls and tell me that they belong to the same species. I'll never believe you. Even a child can see the differences. As for the Denisovans' looks, we know very little. But one thing's for sure, their teeth were so large they couldn't fit into the mouth of today's humans, nor any Neanderthals. The first Denisovan tooth found was so large it was mistaken for that of a cave bear. There's a very good reason people say that we stand on the shoulders of giants. Knowledge advances thanks to the discoveries and the research done by previous generations. You and your creationist ilk are quick to set aside the work done over the last few hundred years by geologists, paleontologists, biologists, and astronomers when it doesn't agree with your interpretation of the Bible. By dismissing the work done by generations of scientists, you set the clock back hundreds of years. Just look at your pseudo-scientific word, kind, that describes nothing at all. By doing so, you choose to be ignorant while showing to the world that you are nothing but a cretin. By the way, did you know that cretin comes from an old French word for Christian?